Boss in the Sauce Show.
Boss in the Sauce Show.
Boss in the Sauce Show.
Boss in the Sauce Show. Here we go.
Woo! Right back and on time, I guess, right?
It's been a minute, my man. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute, but we feeling great right now, man. Happy to be back, man. Happy that all my prayers was answered. I'm happy for all the support, all the cappers, all my family members, everybody who jumped in and threw a prayer out, reached out, said hello, DM me, whatever, man. It was all needed, man. You know, we get in the hospital, the walls started closing in, getting smaller, man. And I was reaching for help. But happy to be home, happy to be on the show with you. You know what I'm saying? And happy to be capping some games today. Got some action going on right now from the show with Jimmy earlier. I'm here and there, but we'll see what happens at the end.
Yeah, all right. So you're hanging tough. It's good to see you, of course. Good to be back myself, too. You know, I was a little under weather after taking a little trip out west for about a good 7-8 days, so I'm feeling a lot better myself. So I'm glad to see you home and get on the straight and narrow, and we'll be back at it Saturday. You know, we're doing our thing tonight, but Saturday we'll be back in full force for what is it, week 13 now? Week 12 technically, but the 13th week.
Yeah, week 12, technically the 13th. Yeah, excited to speak of this week, man. It's a really significant week for a lot of places. Make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. You got senior night to some of these places, which, you know, you can take that however you like it. You know, some people may use that as a part of their capping, and some people may throw it out, but it happens. And sometimes it does change some things, maybe in the first half, sometimes even for the full game, depending on the player, how they trying to, you know, show up and show out and stuff like that. So be careful of those. And then we also, like we have in this Kent State game tonight, you know, you have teams hoping on bowl situations and, you know, trying to get here and there throughout their season. But, you know, I would say overall in college sports, a little bit you could throw some of that out because you can't really think for the players on how they're emotionally around for the game just based on, you know, people making their money and continue to have a job. So it's kind of difficult to jump into those parts right there. But, you know, there's times when it definitely makes a difference on team morale and depends on, you know, how they gelling and coming together. But today's era is a whole different thing with the transfer portal.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You know, a lot of these teams, even though they might have had some rocky starts early on, you know, they want to get some positivity. You know, going into some of these teams won't make it to the bowl season, but you know, some of them would like to finish up a little on the stronger side and try to, you know, the big thing is getting bowl eligible. That's the big thing right now. And some of the games we'll talk about that teams are already going to be playing in bowl games and some won't. So, you know, just different looks, different strokes for different folks this time of the year. So it's all about trying to make a little bit of coin for us too at the same time.
Absolutely, man. Sometimes I feel like if you kept up and stayed awake this far in the season, there's got to be some drills just sitting on the ground just for paying attention. This what's that? Turning in your work on time and paying attention in class, participation grade. You will get those just for, you know, watching what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, there'll be some opportunities. It's funny thing is I do a worksheet, you know, to start my week out, and man, you know, I was surprised how many totals I'm looking at this week, man. It's an unbelievable amount. It's a good dozen or so totals, you know, out of a 50 plus game slate. You know, it's a bunch, and then you know I got some sides also. But tonight we're going to talk about the games that you got on slate for us, and then you know we'll see how we work those out, and then hopefully, like you said, we get on some winners and some cashing opportunities.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. I'm gonna go first right here. Game that I pointed out. UConn. You know, this team is 9-2 ATS despite their record. This is Jim Moore taking this squad over, and here we are hanging a lot of points with an Army team that, you know, hasn't really had due respect to be holding a 10 above this team that has a great opportunity. They play good defense. They're not too well on offense. It bleeds under, but, you know, I'm not too keen on the under in this situation. I'm really coming in to try to catch up with the trend that was going with the 9-2 on the ATS side of
Yeah.
things, getting a Big Ten right here, and we've seen it tonight in some of these games as well. Getting that Big Ten between these two teams that are going to throw down, it's kind of difficult. So, give me UConn plus the 10 in this one. That's my pick. You got anything on that one? I know you
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
good with the
I
military.
love that play. I'm usually an academy type guy when it comes to not so much totals because anytime we get these Army, they go fast even though they're a run first team. They go through the progressions but the weak side of Army's been on the defensive side. You can score points on Army and UConn to their credit, like you said, even though the record doesn't reflect, it's definitely that Jim Moore's come in there and kind of change the team morale. Try to get that program off a dead center. A couple years back, they were a competitive team. For what they were as an independent coming into the league early on, but then they went through a real long lull. They brought the old coach back. He didn't get it done. Now Moore steps in. A lot of people are scratching their head is what's Moore doing at a school like this? Well, it's starting to pay dividends. He's kind of got these kids playing competitive ball week in, week out, and as it shows for the gamblers, 9-2 ATS. That's one of the top teams in the country that you take it to the bank. But Army, they could be scored upon, and no argument here. I think the 10 in your pocket looks pretty decent. I mean, Army's better at home at West Point at the academy, but it's not that bad of a road trip for UConn right up the street for them. So I think it's going to be a fun football game to watch.
Yeah, another quick tidbit on that one is this will be UConn's final game for the season, and this will be Army game before the
Okay.
final game. So
Yeah.
I expect UConn, and being that they turned their season around a little bit, I expect them to leave it all on the field with this one, and I'm definitely taking that 10
Yeah.
points and putting that in my pocket. There's a lot of value right there, and I'm going to jump on it.
I like it.
So let's go on into Big Ragoo's first pick.
Yeah. Which one you got for me?
There you go,
Oh
right
yeah,
there. NC State,
man.
Louisville.
A lot of moving pieces in this game, fellas. Just a couple weeks back, or actually a few weeks back, when Leary was playing at FSU, going into that game, he got hurt at the half, and that was one of FSU's first losses, I believe, the NC State game. So, anyways, Leary gets hurt, and the defense steps up, and they play a knockdown, drag out game with FSU. They win 19-17, and the backup quarterback comes in, MJ Morris, and he's been pretty decent. The offense took a step down. I think at that time they were ranked like 14th or 13th or something like that, and they had a couple games, on deck with Clemson and Wake, and so anyways, he goes 3-2 in the stretch. So right now NC State's sitting at 7-2, 4-5 to the number, 4-5 over and under against a Louisville team that's been very capable, 6-3 with the spread, and 6-3 wins and losses, and 4-5 to the under. Four overs, five unders, and right now Louisville's sitting at 16 ranked in the poll, and NC State's dropped down to 24. So they've kind of held tough with the quarterback Morris. He's got 7 TDs, one interception, 61% completion rate. So NC State's kind of hung tough against a Louisville team. Like I said, 6-4 overall, but they're 3-4 in ACC play, and they just coming off a loss last week to Clemson. They lost 31-16. And the interesting thing here too is the change of quarterback. So NC State's kind of went through their turmoil with their quarterback, and now we're looking at possibly Cunningham not playing in this spot. So, and both these teams play pretty tough when they play one another. Overall, I think the under is cash, and Louisville is 4 out of the last 6 versus NC State. And the funny thing about it, as successful as NC State has been, with the quarterback injuries and Leary going out, they're only 1-6 their last 7 ATS. So they haven't been covering the spread a whole lot of late. But this is going to be a tough matchup. But And in that loss, they took a tough one last week. I mean, they lost to Boston College on a last second touchdown, and Boston College squeaked out a win. It was the first win for Boston College versus a top 25 team, I think, in like the last 8 years. So they've been struggling, and that was with a backup quarterback too in that game. So there's a lot of backup quarterbacks, and interestingly enough, um, they have the leading ACC kicker of all time. He broke Dustin Hopkins' record at FSU, uh, 89 field goals he's made. All ACC leader all time, and he's 20 of 20 this year, the kicker for NC State. So he's and 10 of those have been over 40 yards plus. So we're looking at a short number here. We're looking at 3.5 number at that Louisville's favorite at home versus NC State. And I think this game is going to play well to the under here. I like the under look here. We're looking at a 45.5. It's a short number, but if you look at the way NC State hasn't been really scoring a lot of points, and both defenses are pretty good, and you're going to have a backup coming in for Cunningham. If Cunningham sits on the bench in this game, I'm definitely going to be on the under. And the way this kid kicks for NC State, in a tight game, getting 3.5 on the road, I think it's a field goal type of game, and I would sprinkle a little bit of money on NC State here to squeeze it out at the end of the game, possibly. Probably looking at maybe like a 21-20 type game or 2017. That's the type of vibe I'm getting on this game. So I like the under here in this spot.
No complaints by me, man. I know I tried to hop on this NC State earlier in the season, and then they, the quarterback injury, they kind of sloped out on me. And Louisville is always exciting when Cunningham in, and without him, I don't know what we'll get out of that team, to tell you the truth. But
yeah, it's going to be tough sledding for them, I think. NC State's defense is still good, and Louisville's is pretty good at home too. Like I said, their defenses will be up to the task to kind of. I see a lot of a lot of up and down the field, but not a lot of red zone play. A lot of red zone efficiency here. I see a lot of field goals and a lot of yardage, but not a lot of scoring.
I get it. But let's jump on over to the next one right here. For me, this is OD, the up and down team every week. You never know what you're going to get. And then App State, a team that's just played not so well for the year, not up to expectations at all. Defense actually being an issue, which is something that they had really held down for a long time and was working on the offensive side of things. But now we have super senior Bryce over here at App State, and this will be senior night right here up there in App State against OD. And I think that this game starts out fast for App State. As a matter of fact, a lot of games of App State, they won the first half and then they become pedestrian in the second half, and teams show up and they don't show out fast enough. So I think in this senior night for Bryce, I'm pretty sure he wants to make a nice impression going towards the combine and stuff like that. Definitely he has the size and the skill set to go next level, but just a matter if he can get out there and show off his talent. So I think that in this game, he'll actually pass a little better in this one. They'll be excited for this game. They'll be able to run. There's a few seniors on the defensive side of the ball as well, but I can't say much for them. They haven't really been doing what they're supposed to do. So I want to jump in and jump out on this one. I'm taking first half App State. The number shows, I mean, overall it's I think it went up to 15. But even at halftime, I gotta lay 9 with App State. I like it if it was like 7, even more. But I'm gonna go ahead and lay 9. Probably just a half unit play, just something out there that I seen that could be manipulatable. OD, they have no more home games for the rest of the year, so they could be throwing in the towel. I'm looking for teams that's just giving up, like Stanford and Colorado, that they just checked out basically, and just trying to end the season. I think it's a great spot up in the apps for App State to take advantage right here, and give me App State first half -9.
Yeah, App State, they want to finish up strong, and they want to try to get ready to possibly compete now Well, how many wins you got the record on App State? How many wins and losses are they sitting
App,
at? Or
App State not doing well for the season. They're
yeah,
5-5. They're 2-4 in the conference, and Old
two.
Dominion is not far from them either. They're 3-7, and they're 2-4 in the conference. And also, Old Dominion is 3-7 ATS, so they're not getting to the number as well. And App State also is 3-7 to there too, but they're playing a home
Yeah,
game in this one. They're 5-5 over under, and this Old Dominion team is 3-6-1 to the under. So that means that they can bring a little defense, but maybe not as much offense.
yeah,
So maybe App State, gets out a little bit in the first half, and maybe the Old Dominion can try to close the gap in the second half. But I'm gonna jump in and jump out. Um, this guy Bryce, he's come a long way, and I think that he's quality enough quarterback. That's all they're doing well this year is on offense with
yeah.
31 points a game. They're running the ball for 167, 242 in the air, so they're doing pretty good overall on the offensive side. So give me that one right there.
Yeah, App State, A&M, early on took them out. They have some quality games that they play. They play a little bit of a tougher schedule, but they're playing, I call them baby brother, like these upstart Sun Belt teams like Old Dominion, Liberty, James Madison, that whole grouping of teams, they're going to grow up in this division. And, App State's probably going to one day move up, once they start consolidating these conferences, they'll be one of the bigger. There'll be a team that kind of moves up out of that rankings, but
Mhm.
they're fun. They ran that table in that conference for a long time. Then in Louisiana and Coastal, all those teams over there, good, solid ball clubs. So yeah, no argument. I think they finished strong. They need a quality win to kind of get. I don't even know if they're going to get bowl eligible in this spot, right? If they win, they'll get bowl eligible here, right? They'll have 6 wins.
Probably something low, but
Yeah.
probably a late November bowl. No,
Yeah,
just kidding.
early December, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Let's jump into your next one right here. This is kind of a big game. I'm really interested to see what you got to say about this one, Big Ragoo.
Yeah. Well, it's a tricky spot, believe it or not. I mean, the thing with Kentucky, they lost a couple, back-to-back games. That a little disappointing loss last week. They were a top 10 team, in October, and now they come off that Vandy loss, which Vandy, like I said early in the season, I had a team total over 2.5 wins, and I said if I don't win, if they beat Hawaii early on, which they did, and there's a couple other opportunities they had Northern Illinois, I said I had Vandy 2.5 team total wins over at plus 120, and they did it in 3 out of the 4 games, and I said that's it. They probably won't win another game, but they probably will upset somebody late in the season. Usually it's Tennessee as that last game that they play, but I don't think they're going to get Tennessee this year. But they jump up and bit Kentucky right in the ass last week. So that was their other win, and they got right now they're looking at 4 wins on the season if I remember correctly. But that Kentucky, this could be a real ugly game, or this could be a game where Georgia just kind of comes in there, which I doubt they do, just to kind of get out of a win because they got Georgia Tech on deck. This will be their last SEC game before they get into the championship game. So it's a tricky spot to try to figure out the cap with the number because the total, you're looking at a 49.5 point total, right? And they're 22.5 point favorites. So that basically puts that Tennessee like at about 13 points, on the total basically for the team. But one thing I've noticed about Georgia is, when they opened up against Oregon, and I'm talking about road games now because this game is in Kentucky, but Georgia's 9-0, they're 7-2 to the number, 2-7, 2 overs, 7 unders. Kentucky's 1-8 to under. So you say, hey man, this looks like a solid underplay, but maybe not so fast on this spot here because you got to really watch out because what Georgia does really good on the road is they score points and they score them in bunches. Oregon 49-3. South Carolina 48-7. They had a little hiccup with Missouri, which you remember that Missouri almost beat them in that game 26-22. But then I call this an away game, but technically it's a neutral field. The Gators 42-20, and then recently Mississippi State 49-17. So I'm looking at this. I'm saying this can go one or two ways for Georgia. they could either come out fast and start and score a bunch of points and hang them, really tough. Maybe look at a first half over possibly with Georgia. But then I says, well, maybe they don't do that. Maybe they kind of slow play it and just blow them out late in the game and get their points that way. So either way, I think Georgia's going to score points. So and Kentucky usually plays them a little bit tougher, but Kentucky, they've won the last 12 in the series. I think it continues on, and they just kind of, not take things easy to line up for Georgia Tech and get ready for the big game, the SEC championship game. But I think this is a game where Georgia's going to hang. I got 35 as a team total here, and then I was going to try to flirt with disaster. Maybe they play it early, and they go under 26.5 for the total, because that shows you a little bit of value there. But if they decide to come out and run it up early, which I think they might do, maybe I might be living on the edge with the 26.5. So I think the solid plays is just take Georgia to score 35 points in the game. And, with all those scores I just read off, and have they played on the road and just getting ready, to maybe take it easy with Georgia Tech. You can't go to sleep on Georgia Tech because you never know what could happen there. But they already have the SEC deal sold up, and they're going to be on their way to playing in the SEC championship. And, if they win that, then obviously it's a trip to the playoff. Either way, even if they slip up a game, they're still going to the Final Four. So give me Georgia, 35 points, team total over.
I love that play. Now that you talked it out a little bit, I even like the minus 22.5. If there's a place on the card to lay that many points, it's definitely with this Georgia team. And I talked in the chat last week about Kentucky, and it basically comes down to, at this point, some of these teams are just frauds. They were just we thought they were something early in the year, and they proved themselves through the stretch. And we see from last week losing to Vandy, they just proved themselves that they were frauds. So Georgia takes advantage of frauds. They have to. They don't want no glimpse of nothing to keep them away from the playoffs and on the road that they own. So I think that number may be kind of short. Even the team total is short. I think Georgia puts up 40 easily, and probably could cover the whole 49.5.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I'll put the game over themselves.
Yeah, depending on how checked out Kentucky is. I mean, after the quarterback runs all up and down the field, I mean, there might be a couple guys after the game say, "Hey, man, so how do I get in contact with somebody to get in that transfer portal?" So,
well, you got to realize too. Like, let's say if they let Georgia, let's say Kentucky puts up 10, or if they can get 13, then I think the game goes over. But if they get to 10 points, then you got to get Georgia between they might score, like if they score over the 35, like I like, then they say, well, now you need 6 touchdowns to kind of put the game over. You know what I mean? From Georgia. So 5, I think they'll do. 5, maybe 6, maybe 5 and a field goal or something like that. Who knows? But I like it. I mean, it can sneak over, and that's why I was kind of leery about the first half under. I figured maybe they want to set it up with some defense early, which they'll do all game, but I don't know if a turnover or 2 might come into play possibly, but I like the team total over better than I do. And you're right too. I think they covered the number too. So I don't want to triple up and get greedy. That's my better look is the team total.
That's what's up. Well, let's jump on to the next one right here. For me, this one I'm not sure if I'm making it all the way to the window with this one, even though the number's crawling down in my direction. I really like Western Kentucky in this one versus this Auburn team, who I felt is checked out. As a matter of fact, I looked in the transfer portal and seen that 4 players jumped out week before last. So that speaks volume when groups of players say, you know what, let's get out of here. But I didn't do. One of them was a decent player with some time, but a lot of those guys are second and third string. They quick to check out like that. But this Auburn team is kind of tricky. I mean, we had the interim coach come in last week, and they win the game and they go bananas, and they long live Auburn and yada yada yada. But at the same time, this guy has no chance at being the head coach of the Auburn Tigers, because this is going to be one of the most high-profile jobs, because it's in the SEC at a team like Auburn. It's going to be the most high-profile job that's going to be available, I'm sure the school is going to sort that out and take some time, and it's not going to be this interim coach. So the better debate with me is this guy really a fraud? I really think Western Kentucky has what it takes to beat this Kentucky team without Brian Harsin. I mean, Brian Harsin's a very difficult coach, does things his way, and it's kind of hard breaking through that in the middle of the season and surviving when you're all like out of gas and out of luck and out of hope. But at the same time, you could have a lot of kids over here that know just what I said. It's gonna be one of the best jobs out there. So they could be hanging in there tight, saying, "Hey, man, we're gonna get a great coach after this." They might already got it in their mind, Urban Meyer's coming back or anything. You never know with these guys right here. So, kind of keeping up to that one slow, looking more into the total and taking the under. And I'm pretty sure this bad weather that's out there tonight is going to be moving around a little bit in the area. Hopefully, we get some bad weather and an unmotivated Auburn team that's out of gas, a Western Kentucky team that shocks Auburn, hits them in the mouth when they thought that they would crumble, and we get a low-scoring game, and maybe Western Kentucky wins it by a field goal.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting look all the way around, with the total and the side, because one thing Western Kentucky, they can score points, but they give up a lot of points too. So I guess it's going to be the approach in Auburn, like you said, how they go in and how motivated are they going to be, and we know Western Kentucky is going to be motivated playing at Jordan Hare, but how motivated is the Auburn team going to be? How many wins does Auburn have right now? They got about 3, 4.
Yeah, 4, I believe.
Yeah. So they still technically have 2 games left. So if they win this, then I'll be all in on Auburn to get to a bowl in the last week. They got to look at the schedule and see who they play, but they don't have to win. They don't have to cover. They just have to win. So 5.5 is a tricky number in football too. That's not a number. I'm not fond of 5s. 3s are always, and we're talking NFL though. NFL 3s and
Yeah.
7s are big. College, the numbers they bounce around a lot too. So for the most part, it's unpredictable in college. When we're talking about covering the 5s to the 7s, but usually I'd feel comfortable with 7 for sure. But how's that line move down or up, DJ? Do you track that number?
It's moved down. It opened at 6.5, so it's moved
Okay.
down to 5.5.
Yeah. So
And
the
then
margin.
again, I mean, even if I thought Auburn was going to come in there and handle business, do I think they're going to do it by a full touchdown? I don't know. That's why I say the game seems
Yeah.
more inside of a field goal. I could be wrong on the underside. It could be a clear over, considering West Kentucky can move the ball on offense. So maybe Auburn has to match touchdowns and brings the total up. But I'm definitely leaning hard towards taking Western Kentucky. Maybe I have to throw him in my midday teaser right there and add a
Yeah.
little points to that and feel more comfortable about it.
I was just going to see how they, if they had any key wins at home. I know Penn State went in there early and knocked their dicks in the dirt a little bit at home. So in reality, at home they beat San Jose State, big deal, 24-16, and and then they
Missouri.
they well they yeah they've scored like 27, 17, 17. Yeah, just at home. I'm looking at the games at home that they played. They played Missouri, like you said, 17-14, and they got lucky to win that game. Remember that? That was like a last minute, like a last second play that they won. So they should have lost that game too. But yeah, I don't think they're blowing anybody out. But if there's a team that they could possibly, you know, I'm not gonna say manhandle, but they should outclass them. But Western Kentucky's is capable. They always put a decent offense on the field. So we'll see. We'll see. Jury's
Let's
out
roll.
on that one.
Yeah, let's roll into your next one. Catch us on Saturday for that one. I'll probably settle with something on Saturday by
Yeah,
then. But let's jump into this one right here, man. I'm totally sick with Cincinnati. I keep picking them on the wrong spots and getting beat with them. So I'm excited to see what you have to say about this. And this Temple team, I didn't ride the Temple train, but I heard about it. So
yeah.
what's going on with this one?
This is a story of two tales, record-wise and ATS-wise this season. Cincinnati, they lost some quality players. You know, playoff playoff bound team last year. The whole nine with this team. Well coached. We all love Fickle, what he does up at Cincinnati. But Temple's been one of these teams that's kind of their record doesn't reflect it. 3-6, but 6-3 ATS. Where Cincinnati is 7-2, but 2-6 one ATS. So they haven't been covering a lot of numbers. But the thing I like about this Temple team is Kurt Warner's kid EJ, good quarterback. He gets the offense moving. Is very capable. They're only 1-5 in AAC play. They lost to Houston last week. 46-36, but they're scoring points. They're moving the football well, and it's a team that competes. Now you're telling me you're going to hang a bunch of points here, which I think is down at 16.5 and 50.5 as a total. I think Cincinnati. I think Temple could hang around with Cincinnati here. I don't see Cincinnati really blowing them out by margin. Cincinnati's 0-5 the last 5 ATS. They do play to the unders a little bit, slightly better. 4-5 to the unders this year, but the last 5 of 6 have been under. So the defense is still there with Cincinnati. And I think we see a lower scoring game here. That's a lot of points, man. You talk about 3, better than 2 touchdowns with a team that's capable of moving the ball against a pretty good defense, mind you, with Cincinnati. But I think the total is set right where it is, so that puts me on a Temple side here, just because of the fact that if you look at the total and you look at the points given up, I don't think Cincinnati's going to beat them by more than 3 scores here. I think it's 2 scores or less for sure. So maybe Cincinnati comes away with maybe 7 to 10 points, maybe even less than that, just depending upon, the motivation of this team. They're already bowl eligible, 7-2. They're not going to be playing on a New Year's Day type of bowl, but if they went out, they'll get a lot better quality bowl, maybe New Year's Eve, late in the season. Temple, this is Temple's bowl game, okay? Temple has no shot at getting in the bowl right now unless they're going to take a 5-6 team if they win this game, or a 5-win team later on in the season, where they have done that in the past, because these bowls are getting kind of cheesy, with the games that they've been putting on, the early games. But I don't see Temple beating Cincinnati here, but I see them playing close, but definitely not by 3 scores. I think they have enough offense. They can make enough plays, and with EJ Warner, running, calling the plays. I like Temple here getting the points. A lot of points for a low total. So give me Temple plus the points here.
And like I said, Cincinnati been taking all the money out of my pocket from not covering. So I definitely have to back that one at this point with Temple.
Yeah, I'm curious what Teece thinks about this game, because I know he's a Philly guy too. So we'll see what he thinks about this spot. But I like Temple here. I think the points are a premium right now for this spot, especially Cincinnati not really not that they're losing, because they're winning games, we're just not covering numbers.
Yeah. Well, let's jump on over into my last pick, which is one of my favorite picks on the board today. Boise State, Wyoming, at Wyoming. Wyoming getting the plus 14. Wyoming playing at home at in the evening time as well for them, which would be a 7 o'clock game. And we see what the weather is going around right now, so it's going to be pretty cold. It's just all speaks of Laramie and the conditions that they love to play for, and they're playing one of their teams they compete at a high level with every year, Boise State. Boise State's coming in here with their second string quarterback, Green, who's been doing well, but I don't think Green, and this is where I lost last week, not recognizing this with Wisconsin. Wisconsin did so well with the interim coach and the quarterback that when they met a real defense like Iowa, it changes everything for that young quarterback. And here you are, a big physical Wyoming defense that Green's gonna, Green likes to try to run around and do all kinds of things. And this team, they're gonna be all over him. His accuracy is not the best, and they play a pretty tight pass coverage. At times they could dare you to pass. So they are picking up their running game in Boise, but we don't know what the line situation is, and how are they just? If you look at the teams they played, they just overbearing them in the trenches and able to win. The moment they had to play a team like BYU, who gave them some competition in the trenches, they weren't able to do so well. So this time, I think the line is just way off with Wyoming. I think Wyoming got an opportunity to win this on their terms, even though their record versus Boise State overall is not that great. But you're talking about different coaching areas. Right now, we in the Andy Avalos era, and it's not the same. So I think Wyoming's gonna cover that 14 easily, maybe even bring it down to a field goal, or if they can get up early, then they can steal this game away from Boise. And I lean with the under right here, just because Boise packs defense. That's one of the greatest parts about Boise right now, is that the defenses were really stepped up in the middle of the season when they were trying to figure out ways to win, didn't have a target to throw to, new offensive coordinator, running backs out on injury. The defense stepped up and won games for them. So I think the defense is going to do great right here. Wyoming should be without Peasley as well, the quarterback. And I don't see, they're going to play Wyoming football, run the ball, throw as little as possible. So whoever fills in for Peasley is going to be basically a facilitator for what they do over there. He may have to throw a couple times, and towards the end of the season, young guys come in and they can perform at that level right there. So, like I said, give me Wyoming plus the 14, and I lean hard on the under right there.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, that's where you do it the best, is the Mountain West, man. And we know Wyoming plays a physical style football, so I agree with you. I think it's going to be a closer. Even though Boise's done a lot of nice things of late, I think Wyoming's kind of, they kind of held their battlegrounds. They picked their spots to compete in tougher games, and it seems like when they play the tougher teams is when they kind of show up and play their best football. So yeah, no argument from me on that one, man. I like that look.
Let's jump on over to Big Ragoo's last pick right here. This is also an interesting one. I want to know what you got to say about this one, because are we gonna kick him while he's down, or are we gonna lift him up? I mean, 33 points. What we doing right here, Big Ragoo?
It's crazy. I mean, when you look at this, you look at the way, and I'm surprised. Like this game is like, I thought this would be like a week 1 or a week 2 game, but I guess they took their licks with App State, so now they kind of want to finish it off before they get in their rival game. Play UMass. UMass is a lower level. One of the last place. Offensively, defensively. You look at all the categories, and CFB and UMass is at the bottom, and not too far away offensively is A&M, and their offense has not been putting up a whole lot of points. You know, they lost to Auburn of all people. 13-10 last week. They just been struggling. This offense has been a hot mess. Defense is good. But when your offense can't score points and keep your defense off the field, it wears no matter who you play. Now UMass, I don't think they're going to do any major damage against A&M in this spot here, but I mean, this is a team that's got to be totally frustrated with what's happened all season long to them. Um, and especially in SEC play. I think they lost like 6 in a row. So they've got some pent up aggressions, I would think here. Um, and the NIL changed the whole dynamic for this team, and I think the way Jimbo approached the season, because he did have the #1 recruiting class this year. We all know the story about Saban and the whole 9 yards early on in the season. So I think the NIL has basically saved his job, because if you do the math, like I think he's in his 5th season, if I remember correctly, and he signed that big deal. So I mean, if he didn't have NIL to fall back on, he might be getting fired right now. He'd be close to getting fired. But that's going to save his ass. By the time those recruits become sophomores and juniors, when they start being, when they start getting regular playing time and go through the process, he'll have a pretty good football team 3 years from now, and then it'll be time for another contract, right? So go figure how that works. But talking about this game in particular, though, I mean, this team, this UMass team gives up about 40 points a game on average, and A&M, they don't score a whole lot. They're scoring like in the teens. So I think this is just a game where We're going to look at A&M, just going to kind of have their way with them, just to kind of smack them around. And I'm not apt to not lay the 33.5 here. You say I'm crazy, call me nuts, whatever, but I just think this is aggression. I think UMass will be lucky if they score a point in this game, to be honest with you. I can see this game going like 40-0, like 40-3, something like that. I can see A&M. I don't want to get greedy and say first half, split. I thought about split first half, full game. But just give me an A&M to take out some frustration on this poor UMass team here, just to kind of, going away easily. Not a Big Ten star player, nothing like that. Just an average play, but I think UMass is in for a rough day in College Station. A&M all day here, guys.
Woo! Big Ragoo laying the wood
Yeah,
on
with a
week
shitty
12.
team team that can't score 13 points out of a paper bag, but they're playing a different animal here. Lower level team, and I think they wake up today and they're pissed off and they want to. Listen, this is going to be the third time I bet A&M this season. I'm 1-1 with them. I lost. I won them first half Miami game, and I lost a couple games back with them, which they lost the whole game. Like I said, they lost their last six SEC games. I think I took them in the Mississippi spot or whoever it was. It was off a home loss coming back the following week, and they shit on themselves in that game too. So this is a game though they win comfortably.
Let's go. Take Texas A&M. Let's go. They need to change. It's like a horse race right there. They just outclassed them by far. He should beat them by 7 links.
That's a lot of points. This is a Georgia style whoop ass type game, but they don't, because the class, like you said, you hit the nail on the head. The class there's such a big differential in class here. Even on their worst day, they could probably put the second string and wipe the floor with these kids. So
yeah.
Give me an A&M,
now,
man.
For a quick shot at shooting from the hip, I'm gonna go first because I got just a couple of them I'm gonna throw out there real quick. Yep. I don't want to hold you guys tonight. I appreciate everybody coming and hanging out with us in the rebirth. Here we go. Shooting from the hip right here. First off, Mountain West, where I do it the best. Colorado State, Air Force. Colorado State been Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, not putting up very many points. Another senior right here, quarterback Zeke Daniels. He's triple years here, and he should show out a little bit. They should do more plays to the outside for him. He hits the corner pretty well on his feet. So I think we're going to go for one that Big Ragoo put us on. And we're just going to take first quarter Air Force in that one with senior night going down over there at a home game. Then I'm going to jump over into Notre Dame. Notre Dame minus 21. I mean, at home, I'm always Notre Dame is not trying to beat nobody by that many points at home. We just want to do our little song and go ahead and have a good time, which works. And I like Notre Dame. Boston College plus the 21 points. Now, Boston College played really bad early in the season. Later in the season, they started to trim up some of the fat a little bit. And this is a tricky team that's beat Notre Dame when we, in the past. Like, so they're, the ACC team, they're not afraid of us, even though we've done really well versus ACT teams, Clemson, North Carolina. But this one, we have a little more respect for Boston College. This game goes back quite a ways in tradition. So we don't beat them that bad. And we've been giving up in the second half. So same situation like Navy. We're going to take Boston College plus the 21 points. And what was my other one right here? Washington State and Arizona. Does Arizona come back with the same thing that they had last week? That defense was phenomenal. I don't know where it came out of, but I'm going to say they run out of gas. And I like Washington State in that one. That's me shooting from the hip. What you got for him, Big Ragoo?
I got a little 3-pack looking at my sheets here. I'm gonna do it where you do it the best in the Mountain West. I'm gonna give a little what's that? Thursday night action. That's tomorrow night, right?
Mm-hmm.
New Mexico and San Diego State. A low. Well, 39.5 they're hanging on this game here, right? two teams that struggle to put points on the board. 39.5 is the total. My numbers show me that it's got better than a touchdown value to the under. So I'm going to shoot from the hip on that one. I'm going to get involved with the under in the New Mexico San Diego State game. I like under 39.5 in that game there. And then let's slide on over to the Big 12. We got West Virginia, Kansas State. That's another game I'm looking at. West Virginia's, they've had their struggles putting points on the board. And I know Ian likes talking about the quarterback that transferred over from Marshall. He's got some offensive struggles. K-State, they live and die by a guy over there, the running quarterback. So I think we see a grinded out type of game there. And that's another game I'm hitting on the under. I got it capped at about 47. It's sitting at about 54. So I lean under hard there on that one. And then last but not least, I'm going to give you all unders, guys, all unders on this one. The team that can't score points in college football, they score about 9 points a game. Iowa taking on Minnesota. Minnesota's going to try to run the ball. Iowa's going to shut them down. Iowa's not going to score a lot of points. You ready for this? The total's sitting at 32.5. And I got the game capped into the 20s, the mid-20s, so it's under a touchdown in value. But even at that low number, usually when you see these low numbers like this on totals, they're that way for a reason. Just like when you see a game, I'll give you an example, like the Charlotte, Louisiana Tech game. I capped it over into the mid-70s. It's sitting at 63.5. So if we're shooting from the hip, I'll shoot from the hip on that one too. Charlotte, Louisiana Tech over. It's sitting at 63.5, and Minnesota, Iowa under 32.5. And those are my shooting from the hip.
There it is, y'all. We had a great time tonight, man. So happy to be on camera. So happy to everybody showed up. It's plenty of them that came in the chat. Boston Nick, Teece, D Mills, Dabby Cab showed up. Who else was in this bad boy? Turnsy showed up here early. RVD 420.
D Mills.
Some love. D Mills showed up and gave us some love. We appreciate all the love, man. And sometimes, we need a little love. Ain't nothing wrong with a little love. We love to get a little love. Some of the best parts of life is some of that love, man.
Absolutely.
So that's it for us. We're going to head on out of here and catch us on Saturday with basically like our final report on the Pub Hub as we go over the whole card and cap those games out together. So come join us for that. We'll have a real good time at that one. And also catch us on Before You Bet on Sunday. I will be back on with my man, Don Ricci, on Sunday to do that one. I can't wait to get back in some NFL. I finally had a positive NFL weekend last weekend.
I'm glad you did, man, because that was one of my worst weeks I've had in a long time. Was last Sunday. I can tell you that.
Well, when the Niners win, in that last leg on that triple parlay, it's always a good thing for me. So I liked it how I ended up in the NFL, and I hope to keep it going this week. And I'm getting a little better over there. So come join us on Before You Bet, man, and check us out over there. But we're going to get out of here, man. Thanks for everybody showing up.
Peace, everybody.
The Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show.
Boss and the Sauce Show. Here we go.